What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Investing Bros special Sunday live show. We normally never go live on Sundays, but obviously with today's crypto crash, we're making a special exception right here. It is just me joining you guys for the day, but we got a lot to talk about as altcoins are crashing. There's blood in the streets. People are freaking out right now, and I want to be very clear. We're going to get into the details. Part of the reason why I'm doing this stream is even some people were commenting, whether on my X or in Discord, saying, Tim, can you go live? Just explain what's going on here. We're going to go through a lot. We're going to pretty much explain what we know for certain, what is causing this dip, what the future looks like, what the potential outcomes could be, and levels that you should be watching for. I'm also going to answer some questions, so make sure you guys are live in chat. You guys are typing up, letting me know what you guys want to talk about, because I will be looking at chat regularly throughout the show. No intro, no special intro today, but I do ask you guys go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe. It does help us out as we are continuing to shoot towards that 50,000 subscriber mark. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button if you are new here. Let's talk about it. Let's get into the charts here. Let's start off with Bitcoin. All right, Bitcoin is plummeting. If you're looking at a shorter time frame, like a 15-minute chart, there was a lot of positive momentum last week as we broke above a very serious level of resistance. It looked like we were starting to set up the beginning pushes towards brand new all-time highs. And then starting off on the 31st, right? So today's the 2nd, 2 days ago, we came back down. We bounced with some pretty good volume kind of pumping up here. We bounced off that support level. It looked like this was simply just a retrace, but over the last 24 hours, it has gotten very, very bloody. And I want to be clear here. This is worse than I thought it would get to. I knew there would be a pullback. I knew when we came up here and we broke above, we would probably have to pull back. This has happened a lot bloodier, a lot faster than I thought it would have. If you take a look at the liquidation boxes over here, in the last 24 hours, Bitcoin has had $133 million worth of longs liquidated. You can see there's been a couple little itty bitty bounces, right? Little bitty bounces, but nothing major. We have not seen a higher high here in quite some time. And I want to, again, before I get into details of the longer term future here, I want to talk about why this move is so powerful and why it's very clear the bears are in full control right now. And you need to understand that. I'm going to tell you guys what I'm thinking to do buying wise. I did buy a dip yesterday. Clearly, it wasn't the dip, but something that is concerning. Before I talk about anything positive, something I do find concerning. You guys know I'm a big proponent of this Lux Algo oscillator. More than 90% of the time, this ends up being an accurate signal. When you get a buy signal like a green reversal, bullish momentum, and positive money flow, we've seen this several times now, you're at least supposed to rally back up towards the smart trail. But there's a sign when this doesn't happen. This is a very clear sign. But I want to show you guys here. We have failed to hit the 15-minute smart trail on bullish signals once, twice. We actually did touch it right in here. So this is a successful one. But then again, we had another one over here, 3, and now 4 times we've gotten buy signals and we have not come back up to the smart trail, right? An indicator that normally is 90% accurate, that it ends up at least going back to that smart trail, has failed time after time after time. Now, this is only the 15-minute time frame, right? So let's not say, oh, that means the bear market is here, right? Let's not go that far just yet. This is telling me though, when this indicator fails, not even just once, when it fails more than once in a row, that just tells you how strong the bears are pushing right now. This is not simply people selling off. This is a calculated sell-off, manipulated move pushing to the downside. So you see that as a negative, right? We see that, oh man, this buy signal that traditionally is so powerful is failing. That's really bad, right? No. It's failing because there's a very strong effort right now to push the price to the downside. You'll also see here on the 15-minute chart, we're working on building up the excessive sellers in the space right now. We had a little bit of that back here, but this is the most we've seen on the 15-minute chart in quite some time. You have to go back over here to January 27th. And if you went back there, January 27th, that actually was the bottom of a pullback before it rebuilt. So some negative things I'm seeing on this slow time frame, some positive things I'm seeing on this small time frame. It's all about a matter of perspective. Now, before I go into longer time and look at the daily chart and look at other things, let's talk about the big reason why. Why are the markets so bearish right now? Why is Bitcoin down, 3% a day? But I mean, the reality is, let's turn some of this stuff off real quick. From those highs we had the other day, Bitcoin is now down, and it's not going to sound crazy, but 9%. Bitcoin has fallen 9% since these recent rallies we had on the 30th of January. Some other coins, after Ethereum had a very nice pump on the 31st, it had a very nice rally. Ethereum is now down 13%. Let's take a look. Ondo, I was trading Ondo, got destroyed in a trade on Ondo. It's okay. You learn from these lessons, but Ondo down 26% in the last couple of days. Why is this happening? Well, simple reason why. We already talked about on Friday that Donald Trump and the American government is imposing tariffs, 25% tariffs on both Canada and Mexico, and also 10% tariffs on China. Those went into effect on Saturday. That's when the bleeding really started to get going. But of course, then if you're asking what's kind of accelerating it today, within the last 15 hours here, Canada's Prime Minister Trudeau announces a 25% retaliation tariff on $155 billion worth of American goods. Now, there's a lot you could unpack with that. This is almost like playing chicken. Who's going to cave first? Clearly, right now, what's going on is Donald Trump is fed up with Canada and Trudeau refusing to cooperate to prevent illegal immigration coming to the States, things that bring drugs, bring fentanyl, bring murderers, bring a lot of different things happening, right? So this is a move that's being perceived by Trump as let's force the hand, let's force Trudeau to actually cooperate. Well, Trudeau is trying to play the same game. Problem is, he is going to lose. I'm not saying this won't be painful for American goods for a little while, but I actually expect there's a very probably high likelihood Trudeau and Canada end up folding in the next couple of days, because as bad as you're feeling, maybe if you're in the United States, this is 10 times worse for the people of Canada. This is not a sustainable war that he can fight. But that is what we have going on right now. We do have trade wars beginning, and it's something that we need to be prepared for. Some other articles we're looking at here. Bitcoin fell below 100,000. That's obviously a while ago. President Trump commenting on all of this trade war says that the pain from the tariffs will be worth the price. I don't know where you guys sit on this. I'm sure a lot of people are sitting and saying, I agree with Donald Trump. I think a lot of people are saying, I disagree. Some people voted for Trump and they're very frustrated with this move. Some people didn't vote for Trump and they're extremely angry about this move. I'm just going to be very honest with you guys, and you guys are welcome to have a different opinion than me. That's one thing we definitely encourage on this channel is different opinions. I absolutely agree with this statement. I talked about this on Friday, how the long-term effect of getting out of the problems we put ourselves in the country, being dependent upon other countries, having inflationary money, we got to go through some short-term pain to fix a long-term problem. But I agree with Trump. I think that this will be worth it in the long run. Some other things to keep an eye on. We talked about liquidations, but 135 million liquidated from cryptocurrency markets in the past 60 minutes. That's from 40 minutes ago. So it really accelerated here over the last over the last hour and some change. So that's kind of the news. That's kind of what is happening right now that is causing such a large dip, and people are freaking out. And before we go in and look at the longer term charts and I talk about what I see as potential levels of support, potential levels of interest, I want to be very clear. I'm aware that here on this channel, we have talked about buying the dip and holding on for a long time now. If you guys have been following us for a while, you know that we are big advocates of riding the volatility, not capitulating. We still believe we're in a long-term bull market, and all of these shakeouts are manipulated movements trying their hardest to convince you, the retail investor, to sell all of your crypto. That being said, I feel your pain. I'm looking at my portfolio that a couple of days ago was a lot higher than it is right now, and I'm saying, man, this is painful. I understand that a lot of you guys are saying here, I don't have any money left to buy the dip. I bought all the other dips. I can't do this anymore. I'm considering selling. And I want to make sure we're clear here. And we say this time after time, but I want to make sure we reiterate this. If you have money invested right now, whether in the stock market or in crypto or in anything that you can't afford to lose, meaning if you lost that money, you're in trouble with rent, you're in trouble with your mortgage, you're in trouble with putting food on the table, That type of person needs to go ahead and remove some money from the crypto markets. I'm going to be very clear here. If you have money invested, you cannot afford to lose, or something really bad happens to you, you actually do need to pull out. But for everybody else, I'm going to continue to raise the flag of saying this is a normal part of a bull market, but I will concede there are some differences happening right now that I did not think would happen, and I'm going to get into those here in a second. But I want to be very clear here. While I am not selling, and I don't advise anybody to sell, I don't think people should be selling. The only exception is, are you in trouble financially? Did you not prepare yourself correctly? Did you overinvest? You might need to take a break, step back, make sure your family and your bills are covered. Only leave invested what you can afford to lose. So let's go back here to my screen. Let's take a look at the charts. And again, we're looking at a lot of altcoins as well, but I want to start off by going back to the Bitcoin chart because we are focusing on a small time frame, a 15-minute time frame. Let's go out. Let's go out to the daily chart and let's talk about this for a little bit, because it's always good before you freak out to zoom out. And even though the last 2 days have been very painful for crypto investors, it's not even the most painful pullback we've had in the last couple of months. This is only a pullback from all-time highs. Currently, Bitcoin is down 11%. If you were to just go back a couple of weeks ago, though, to when we dipped all the way down here right below 90,000, that pulled us back from Bitcoin down 17%. If you were to go back into the summer of 2025, and we had a little scare with the Chinese carry trade, and then Japan was crumbling, we had a pullback on Bitcoin in the world of almost 30%. So it's always good before we freak out to put ourselves in perspective. We've had during this bull market very, very large pullbacks. We've had very scary news that has happened that has caused a lot of people to be freaking out. However, and I don't want to diminish or belittle what we've just gone through over the last 2 days, but compared to what we've gone through over the last year, the reality is this is not a large pullback whatsoever, but it is a move that I genuinely believe is being played out by whales and by institutions to convince us retail investors to capitulate, to go ahead and sell. And again, I said this before, if you have to sell, go ahead and sell. If you want to sell, you know what? Who am I to tell you what to do with your money? But I'm telling you, these are the types of moves, these are the types of feelings that happen when your gut hurts like this, when you're really concerned, when you're honestly having internal wrestlings with your own mind about, is the bull market actually over? Is this going to be the end? Those are the best times to be buying crypto. Some of you don't like hearing that, and that's okay. If you want to sell, I'm not even going to tell you stay away from this channel. Stay around the channel. Watch us. If we're wrong, we're wrong. But if we're right, you want to be around for when we see the turnaround start to happen. And when we're looking for a turnaround to start to happen, this is something I actually mentioned the other day on our Friday live show. But while I didn't think this was going to pull back, I told people the probability was I still thought we were going to hold this support level. I did prepare people for, if things started to get bloody, to watch out for a very normal pullback to the golden pocket. Well, this is coming in here around $96,300. Okay, so that's going to be a level that you absolutely should be watching. It's my next spot to watch for a potential dip. You're also going to find when you start to pull on some other indicators in here, like going up towards the 2-day. Let's see, actually. Yeah, so the daily chart was right above us. So we're not going to get smart trails right in here. But if you take a look here, let's turn this one off. You take a look at liquidations. This is where we actually saw some interesting liquidations carrying us down to over the last little bit. Let's go to the 4-hour chart here. There were some liquidations, meaning positions where people had entered longs, and they said, if we drop to this level, we want out of our longs. Well, there was a fat stack here at 97. There's a little bit more here at 96. Technically, it actually could carry all the way down to 94, but even a wick down there that shoots back up, I still think there's a decent chance that golden pocket is defended. Golden pocket, if you're not used to Fibonacci, if you're not used to technical analysis, is a very, very significant level of support that is very common in pullbacks. And I also want to make sure I'm clear here. You might be saying, Tim, but it's so bad right now. Why would we defend that space? This event, I'm not going to call it a black swan. This is almost more like a gray swan event. It's not that it came out of left field, because we knew Trump had been talking about for over a year now that he was planning on working with tariffs on other countries that did not cooperate. So no one should be surprised that he's issuing a tariff, but it has taken the markets a little bit by surprise. But I go back to that concept of saying, If this is so bad, why are we only down 9%? Why haven't we crashed a lot lower than this if this is really the end of it all? I mean, when you had this over here, when we thought that the Asian markets were crashing and going to be gone, within just a couple of days, we saw a massive pullback in Bitcoin's price action of 17%. Obviously, this isn't the same magnitude, but you go back to freaking out situations like back in 2020 when COVID hit, and within just a couple of days, we saw Bitcoin plummet. Let's go back over here. We saw Bitcoin plummet 50%. When Elon Musk sold Bitcoin and said it was a potential disaster, it did take just over a week, but you can see here a lot of the blood happened within a short number of days. We saw 40% pullback on Bitcoin. So my overall take here is saying, if this is such bad news, and if it's really, really the end of the bull market, why are we actually holding up so well? Why are we not down a whole lot more? And I can tell you this, throughout our show on Friday, watching on X, there's a lot of people commenting right now that they believe when the Asian markets open up tonight/Monday, that there's going to be a bloodbath in crypto. That was, again, when Bitcoin was way up here above 103,000. Is it potential? Is there a potential here, ladies and gentlemen, that was the common thought, that the Asian markets would sell off with all of this, and we front run that information. We came down early, and now all of a sudden we just handed the Asian markets that open back up tonight very discounted Bitcoin, very discounted crypto. I'm not guaranteeing that that's what happens, but I am saying that's something to be aware of. As we look at the kind of worst case scenario that says, hey, how low could we drop and the bull market still be in effect? For that, I think you're going to probably take a look at this weekly and 5 daily chart. I'm going to show them to you, but these are two charts that we have not lost the smart trail this entire bull market. Once we reclaimed a bullish trajectory, we crossed above the red smart trail. We're only working with the blue smart trail. Notice the weekly chart, Bitcoin has never dropped below. It's tested it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, but we've never dropped below here. This is coming in at the bottom level here around $76,000. We also have never lost the 5 daily smart trail once we captured it back here in March as well. Again, we've tested it a couple of times here, but that one coming in here around $82,000. So these are levels that I would say if we lose them, okay, there's a potential you can start to genuinely ask the question, is the bull market in trouble? I mean, we're talking about pullbacks on Bitcoin from all-time high somewhere into the world. Let's see if it went back here towards 74, 32%. That's still not a big deal. Historically, Bitcoin falls back 32% all the time. But what I will say is this market is very different. This market is not what we've seen in the 4 years past. You guys know we've talked about alt season traditionally should have started already probably 2 months ago, at least in January, which it clearly did not. The Bitcoin dominance is climbing back up over 60% right now. This market is very different. I am going to have to adjust a lot of my analysis taking into account this, but it's something that we semi-predicted, just couldn't get the deck details right. This is the bull market of institutional adoption, ladies and gentlemen. This is the bull market where institutions are going big on crypto. But if you don't think that that's going to come with multiple shakeouts, then you're lying to yourself. And what this actually is causing me to believe is every time that we crypto more experienced investors look at something from the past and say, hey, this is the timeline of how this should work, we should start really heavily questioning those timelines. For example, there's usually, again, an altcoin season that starts sometime here around, January, February of every 4 years, right? So 2021, and it should have happened this year in 2025. Didn't happen, right? But we're used to that pullback. Then shortly, a couple months later, there's almost always another pullback. You saw this in 2017 as well, where we had altcoin season here actually a little early in February and March. Then we had another large pullback in June, May and June. That time period, there's always these early pullbacks. I'm starting to believe, you guys have heard people say, hey, watch out for March or April to have a nice pullback, and then we're going to correct in the summer and go back to new all-time highs. I'm starting to wonder if people are going to sell off there in March and April in anticipation of the timeline staying intact, and it's not going to happen. I can't tell you when we go where, how we go where. What I will say is, welcome to the roller coaster of institutional adoption. It is very much so right now about following technical analysis and looking for significant details to come alive here. And again, one of the things I would say is while the golden pocket on the short term, if you were to look at the daily chart, for example, is still intact here at 96,000. Worst case scenario, there is a chance we pull back down here back towards $75,000, give or take, into that weekly smart trail. But that's going to be an extremely, extremely strong level of support. And if you're asking me right now, I know people hate when I say could go up, could go down. I've been wrong. I didn't think we were going to drop below and come back down below 100,000. But I also, at this point, still believe somewhere between where we are right now and where we are at 75,000, there's going to be some form of strong support. We'll have to watch how that plays out. But I have no intention of selling whatsoever. I'm going to continue to trade these markets to the best of my ability. And until I see something bullish, I am going to be probably looking for short opportunities over the next week because we're rejecting on a lot of different levels. It's not working out very well if you're longing the markets right now. That's the bulls are getting wrecked in the short-term trading. So short-term trading, we're going to go bearish. Long-term, I'm still extremely, extremely bullish. Let's check on some altcoins, though. Let's check on some things and how things are cooperating here. Still looking at perspectives of what's going on. Let's start here with Chainlink. Love Chainlink. Chainlink's taking a bloodbath. What's not taking a bloodbath? But I want to put this into perspective. Chainlink still sitting well above where we just were here a couple of weeks ago when Chainlink crashed all the way back down here towards 1792. We're going to have some levels in here that are very interesting on a shorter time frame. This former resistance level that we've never retested, never turned in support. You obviously could get a bounce off of there coming back down into the region of 19 to potentially $18 and still have strong support. You also, in the $18 realm, can zoom out here a little bit and look at a long-term long-term resistance level that once again we turned into support here more recently. But this green line is going to be another one to keep an eye on. Do we potentially just pull back to that line once again? These are both very, very strong levels of support that I would be very surprised if are lost. From a Fibonacci perspective, you're also going to keep an eye on the fact that we have in this region, the 0.382 and the 0.5. Even if we drop to $15, that is simply a pullback to the golden pocket. Still a great situation when you're looking at a bull market, but it would be painful and people would be freaking out. But my expectation, somewhere between this $20 and $18 mark, is going to be a very good opportunity for a bottom position. Let's watch, let's confirm, let's get some high volume that comes in that says the buyers are back. But that's what I would be watching for. Potential dip to continue today on Link, and then possibly, again, drop below that $20 mark. That's what I would be watching for. When you look at the oscillators here, we had some bearish divergence on the daily chart not that long ago. If you start to pull up, well, it's not officially a sell signal there. We had a sell signal. We came and dropped below that smart trail. Let's just see what this next one is. 2-day smart trail, the bottom of it coming in here, guess where? 1866. If you were to look at liquidations, let's zoom in a little bit closer here and look at recent liquidations here on Link. You can see actually we're getting very close to taking out pretty much all of the recent ones. Let's get rid of Fibonacci for a second because it confuses with all those lines. There really isn't a whole lot of liquidations. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Not a whole lot of liquidations here below 20. Let's go to the 4-hour and see if it gives me any more. But yeah, once you break below this 20 mark, you don't even pick anything back up until you're down to the $17 mark. So a lot of this pain, like we said before with Bitcoin, it's not that big of a crash when you really think about it. Altcoins can dip 40, 50% during a bull market and not even blink an eye. We're only down 22% in the last 2 days, and we have just removed a lot of overly bullish long positions. Now, there's not much of a reason to chase anything lower. So keep an eye on that there for Chainlink. Look at Ondo. Again, I was trading Ondo, getting obliterated on Ondo. I bought the dip last night when we came back down here towards this level, hit a long-term support level. Guess what? Just I was showing you with Bitcoin, getting obliterated on these charts where we kept getting all these buy signals, could not make our way back up to the smart trail to keep this consistently. That just shows you how strong the bears are. Now, what I will say that's very intriguing right now is we are getting the highest amount of volume on this dip right now that we have seen since the rally back when we found out that the Fed was kind of more in a dovish situation where they thought that inflation was not necessarily out of control. This doesn't mean this pullback is over. I don't want to give people false hope and say, hey, buy at the dip right now because you'd be buying the bottom. I'd be looking at this rising green line that we've already bounced off once before. This is a former support level turned resistance level. Now we've turned it back into support. Wouldn't be surprised to see somewhere here in the world of $1.15 on Ondo once again come into effect. This is great though, because we made a price prediction video not that long ago where we were talking about Ondo being up here towards 150 and then the X's you could make. If you can get Ondo back here at $1.15, $1.14, man, a lot of money can still be made in this bull market that I do not believe is over one bit. That being said, let's take a look at some different levels of support to keep an eye on here. Let's see here. Let's go out to the weekly chart and see what it's going. Yeah, so weekly chart, Smart Trail can be right in that same category. It's technically a little bit lower towards 110, but it can definitely rise up here for the next couple of days, kind of defend that green line as a strong level of support. So keep an eye on that. If you look at oscillators here, we had a good buy signal. Guess what? That actually was a successful buy signal. We rejected on that Smart Trail. But I would love to see that daily Smart Trail back above 168 broken to feel good and confident once again about the bull market being in effect. From a Fibonacci standpoint, this is another thing to keep an eye on. We already have made this bounce once, but the 0.5 level, again, 111, 110, 0.5 level, we bounced on it back here. Could we do it again? If we don't have that one, the golden pocket is sitting here at 94 cents. And I'm saying all this to just kind of reiterate to people, it's not abnormal whatsoever in a bull market to pull back down towards golden pockets. There's actually going to be some people who probably are going to wait for that position. They may not get an entry, but there's going to be some people that wait for it because they love trading golden pocket Fibonacci retracement. So keep an eye on that for Ondo. Let's take a look at a couple others here. Cardano bleeding. But again, this is in a bullish formation that we have not broken out of here. This is good. This is the reason why you zoom out. I know a lot of people are bearish on Cardano right now, saying it's terrible. We are nowhere close to a significant Fibonacci level from this November scream that Cardano had when it exploded to new cycle highs here. Keep an eye on this 0.382 level right here on 77 cents. Got a double bottoming there, bouncing off this trend line of a falling channel on Cardano. Once again, that green line right there. Nothing necessarily too concerning to me. Again, the daily chart, they're not giving us buy signals yet, but a lot of the lower time frames giving us high volume coming in on these recent dips here, and also starting to bottom out and screaming oversold dramatically. So again, could go a little lower. I think we're going to drop below 80 cents here on Cardano, but the next defense to kind of watch, to look at, is right here around 77 cent mark. Going to speed up here, XRP, and then I'm going to answer some questions. I know people are going to have a lot of questions before we call it a day. XRP actually just retraced to a support level right there. You guys can see it's in its own. This is like a broadening wedge pattern that XRP has been in here more recently. But it broke downwards and hit that support level. Let's take a look at some different support that it's going to kind of come into contact with here. Bouncing off that daily Smart Trail after we didn't even technically get a sell signal. We did get bearish divergence, but we're now pulling back to that level. That's very, very important from a more macro perspective. Not too macro, but Fibonacci wise. Let's start with this dip right here. You can see we are bouncing off that golden pocket. If you want to extend this to a little bit lower, we bounced off of the 0.5 level. But either way, XRP, one of the few coins that I would say they're actually sitting on some pretty significant support even as we're speaking. You can see here on the 1 hour chart when we're looking at liquidations, no more liquidations down below us. Okay, there it goes. It uploaded. There's some liquidations there at 230. So let's zoom out and see if there's anything heavier. Yeah, nothing until you fall all the way back to 225. And I would be pretty surprised if XRP went all the way back there. But that would be, again, not canceling out a bull market for XRP if it happens. While it would surprise me, it would go against what I think could happen. At this point, in a macro perspective for XRP, as long as we don't drop below this golden pocket of $1.03, and I know that sounds crazy because that would be a massive pullback on XRP of like 70%. As long as we don't drop below that golden pocket, I still think the bull market's on. It's just a very confusing and manipulated one because the institutions have their hands on everything. Last one, I think I had it in the thumbnail, SUI. Let's go check out SUI. Was going to release a price prediction video today on SUI. Decided to hold off. I don't think people want to hear a long-term SUI price prediction. It'll come out probably next week, but it is dropping back down here. It was up at $4 when I made the video, so somewhere right in here. It is now, of course, coming back down to 337. Let's take a look at what it is doing. If you go back Fibonacci-wise from right here, it actually has pulled back down below the golden pocket. It's sitting at the platinum pocket. If you were to come back to this extension, we're wrestling right now with that 0.382, but coming down to 290 wouldn't be unheard of down to that 0.5 level. Let's see where we also have support. Daily chart, we have lost that smart trail. Let's keep going up. Let's look at the 2 daily, 3 daily, 4 daily. Lost that one. 3 daily, 5 daily. We're bouncing. Well, we're not bouncing, but we're currently sitting on top of the 5 daily smart trail with that sell signal. What about the weekly chart? Let's start with saying, do we even have a sell signal? We do. We do have a sell signal on the weekly chart for SUI. So that's kind of telling us we could pull back anywhere between where we currently are, 328. We could pull back all the way to 277, but right there on 290. We talked about that already, how a potential double bottom on that level could be a very interesting one as well. So there's what we're looking at right now for SUI. The blood is probably not over, but if you guys can hold on, there's some more dips to be bought. Now, I'm going to answer questions here. I started on this already. I said that, if you have to pay bills, you need to withdraw your crypto. I want to talk to other people that are frustrated. Maybe you're sitting here saying, Tim, it's not that I'm holding more than I can afford to lose. It's that I'm very frustrated with how this is going, and I don't have a lot of extra money. Anyone who wants to sell can sell. I would warn you that, again, this move is a pretty common shakeout move, not just in the crypto markets. We've seen this historically in the crypto markets with massive pullbacks before a massive rally. The stock market, go back and study it for the last 100 years and watch when institutions and a lot of wealthy individuals who control the media are involved in an asset, how crazy it really, really, really can be in the markets that confuses you. If you want to just sit there and hold, if you don't want to buy any of these dips, you're like, Tim, I bought enough. I don't want to buy any more. That makes a lot of sense. If you don't want to buy any more and you just want to ride this bull market out, go for it. If you want to capitulate, go for it. I'm not here to tell you guys how to do anything with your money, but what I am telling you is when you zoom out, instead of freaking out, this is still a very strong bull market. It's confusing. There's a lot of manipulation. Things are happening stronger than I would have anticipated, but it just means I need to recalibrate, rethink about things, make sure we're not hitting disaster scenarios. And when I'm looking at all these longer time frames, I'm just be very honest with you. I am not concerned about the long-term bull market. I'm not concerned about any of my price predictions. People might be saying, Tim, are you still thinking Chainlink gets up over $300, maybe pushes towards 400 to 700 in a very bullish scenario? Do you still think Bitcoin can get above 200,000? Do you still think Solana can get towards 1,000? I still think all of those things are possible. In fact, I'm not questioning those predictions just yet. If we're still having problems come March, April, maybe we start to ask the question, this could be a problem. But there's another scenario that's kind of playing out that genuinely I would actually love to see. Let's pretend we are entering some sort of a mini bear market, extended mini bear market because of the tariffs and the trade wars that happens. That just means the next bull market is going to start a lot sooner and a lot faster, which I would love, because that would then be extended bull market in 2026, possibly 2027. As a whole, though, I'm not concerned right now. I'm holding on. If you guys are questioning and wondering, what is Tim doing with his crypto? How is Tim perceiving these things? We are not in panic mode. We are not in sell mode. This is a manipulated pullback that is very, very normal in investing. Welcome to crypto volatility, everybody. If you can't deal with it, you got to get out the kitchen. You can't deal with the heat, you got to get out the kitchen. But with that said, let's go ahead and talk. Renee said, Tim, you're nice and positive, but not realistic. Fair. Renee, a lot of people are going to say I'm not realistic. I'm not offended when people say I'm not realistic. What I'm looking at is based off of how markets have performed in the past and how things are being talked about and where things could get to, possibilities and probabilities on how high things can get. And I'm not going to get everything right? I say this all the time. I'm not going to get every single one of my predictions right. But you want to know what else is going to happen in this bull market? I can tell you right now, there's going to be some prediction I make that doesn't end up happening. A coin that I think is going to do really well and ends up not being that special. There's going to be other coins that I'm bullish on, and it turns out I wasn't bullish enough, and it goes a lot higher than we actually think it could. When I talk about this manipulation of institutions, I want to be very clear here. Right now, we're dealing with a negative manipulation, right? We're dealing with a pullback on a lot of our favorite cryptocurrencies. You understand that manipulation also works to the upside. It's that concept of the bully on the playground bullying the little kid by shaking his lunch money out. That is what these types of moves are. They are trying to convince you that you need to get out of this market. And the second you do and you capitulate and you sell your crypto coins to them, then they pump the market. They make it go sky high. They make a lot of money. And you who capitulated at $100,000 a Bitcoin or at, $200 a Solana or $20 a Chainlink, then you get left out. And all of a sudden these things take off without you. And by the time you're buying back in, the price is significantly higher. That is also a big part of how manipulation works. It's not all just dips. Manipulation also can manipulate prices to the upside in a very fast and crazy way that only the people who hodl end up riding out. Let's read some more chat here. Joker says, Tim, remember Trump was best for crypto? Market is lovely. Joker, let's be very clear here. When you say this, I know that people are going to try to say this in a way that's negative and saying Trump is ruining crypto. Let's remember, I'm going to share my screen again. Let's remember where crypto was when Donald Trump was elected president. Okay. We're going to go back to November 5th. Bitcoin was sitting at $67,000. Even with today, the last couple of days of a pullback, Bitcoin, since he was elected, is up 45%. Let's take a look at Chainlink. Where was Chainlink on November 5th? Chainlink was sitting at $10.17. Even with this pullback, Chainlink is up 100% since Donald Trump was elected president. Cardano was sitting at 32 cents. Even with this pullback, Cardano, since Donald Trump has been elected president, is up 150%. So when people sit here and say, oh, Trump is ruining crypto, well, are we just going to get rid of all of the bullishness that happened because of his presidency? Yeah, we're dealing with some uncomfortable things right now as there is a trade war going on. But as I talked about on Friday, I am not necessarily against this trade war. And I know that it's going to be painful for a second, painful for a little bit of time. But ultimately, the issues that our country has faced for a long time now because of weak-willed, weak-backed politicians who simply want to pad their own pockets while taking advantage of the American people and pretty much leaving the American people out to dry, it is worth going through a little bit of pain to get rid of those problems. On Friday, I compared it to being a drug addict. Guess what? If you're addicted to drugs or you're addicted to anything, or let's go a simpler route. Let's say you stepped on a piece of glass. Is it painless to pull that glass out of your foot? Heck no. I remember being a little kid stepping on glass and screaming. Did not want my parents to pull that glass out whatsoever because I knew the pain was coming. But is it better to leave the glass in the foot and then that foot get infected and then all of a sudden maybe you have to amputate that foot? No, it's not. It's not easy for a drug addict to get off drugs, but it's necessary for health. It's necessary for getting back long-term on your feet. And the problem right now in America is we are too dependent upon other countries for our goods and services. We take our hard-earned money every single day and we are sending it to China and to Canada and to Mexico. And we're not sending it to other Americans because we depend on other countries to produce our goods and services. And when you look at the history of our country and other countries, the times that economies do the greatest in a long stretch is when they are self-dependent, when they actually do everything within their own country. When we force these tariffs, yes, there's going to be a slight increase in payment on inflation to certain goods. You know, I saw people say eggs are like $10 a dozen right now. Maybe that's true. I haven't bought eggs recently. My wife does the grocery shopping. But I'll tell you this. If we can start buying American eggs instead of Canadian eggs and Mexican eggs, if we can start producing lumber here in the States rather than in Canada, if we can start producing goods and services, if we can start putting up manufacturing distributions and do that here in the United States, that means more Americans get to work. So when I spend maybe a couple hundred extra on my computer because I'm buying an American-based computer, not a Chinese-based computer, guess where that extra couple $100 goes plus the multiple thousands I spend on a computer? It goes to an American company that stays inside the American economy. Right now, when I spend thousands of dollars on a computer, all that money goes to the Chinese economy. This is a long-term detrimental effect. We have to fix that. We have to fix the issue with the drugs and the crime that's coming in through illegal immigration. And people might be saying, Tim, you're a Christian. Don't Christians like this? I get tired of hearing this. Aren't Christians supposed to be extremely friendly and loving and let the foreigner come in and take care of the foreigner? Be very clear. Read the entire Bible. God told his people to defend themselves from attackers. He did not let anyone just come in at any given time. As a Christian, I do care and I do have a thought and concern and empathy for people who are hurting in other countries. But I also understand that order and legality has to be a staple of the United States. In other words, it's like being a father and saying, man, I have 2 young kids in my household, but I'm going to allow the homeless drug addict to come live in my house with me. That is not wise. That is not a thing. Maybe you take care in another way of that homeless drug addict. Maybe you should have a heart for that person, but to put your family in jeopardy is nothing that Jesus or the Bible ever advocates for. And that's the same kind of thought here, saying we should just allow anyone who's anyone to come in and come into our country, illegally or not. You have murder, you have drugs, you have a lot of different things. That's a problem that has to be fixed. And I know a lot of people don't like it, and a lot of people want their eggs to be as cheap as possible, and they want their gas to be as cheap as possible. By the way, guys, everything's going to get cheaper at a certain point. When we start producing these in the United States, when we start drilling oil here in the United States, when we start producing goods and services with cheaper energy, things are going to get cheaper. And you'll have more money in your pocket because Donald Trump wants to get rid of income tax. And that means more money goes into your bank. Yeah, maybe you spend a little bit extra at the grocery store, a little bit extra when you're buying things, but overall you will be net positive if everything that Donald Trump wants to accomplish ends up getting accomplished. And I say all this, I want to make sure we're clear here because we're gotten away from crypto. We're going to talk crypto. I'm going to read chat again here. We started a little trail here. I gotta continue with. I am not. It really sounds like I'm like the biggest Donald Trump fan in the world. I think everything he does is brilliant. He can do no wrong. I want to be very clear with everybody. I don't really like who Donald Trump is as a person. I don't buy some of the things that he does when it comes to pandering towards Christians. I don't believe that he is a man after God's heart. I know some people are going to disagree with me on that, but the things that he's done in life, I could write you a long list of things that I disagree with Donald Trump on as a human being. To be fair, though, I could write you a very long list of things that I've done that some of you guys would disagree with. And I'm very glad that I have a savior who's going to forgive me when I turn from my sin. I don't think Trump is a perfect human being. I don't think Trump is somebody that I would want to spend a whole lot of time with and emulate as the type of person I want to be. I do think the policies and the decisions he's making, though, as a leader are the right ones for the country. You don't have to like the person or be best friends with the person or agree with everything that person does or says to agree with policy. And so if we're going to talk my support of Donald Trump, it is not Donald Trump, the human. He is not a god. He is not someone to worship. He is someone to watch and to make sure you keep him in check and make sure he does the things that he says he's going to do from a policy standpoint. And from what I have understood and what I've watched, he absolutely does what he says he's going to do. The policies that he enacts are things that I would do if I was the president of the United States. So for that reason, I'm not a Donald Trump enthusiast, but I am a supporter of him as a president because I like his policies. People tell me to stop. Listen, guys, you don't have to watch the show. I'm glad you guys are here. If you guys don't like hearing my opinion on how things work, start your channel. I would love to come subscribe. Let me know what your channels are, and we can talk more, and I'll hear your thoughts as well. Let's talk a little more crypto, though. What do you guys want to talk about as we kind of wrap up the show here in a little bit? Tim, I like you as a person, but you are so wrong about Trump and his intentions. Okay, listen, I love people's different opinions, but I don't think I'm wrong. I respectfully disagree. Let's see. Uniswap ETH. Let's take a look at ETH. And remember on ETH, we had been tracking with Ethereum a longer term inverse head and shoulders pattern. Let's kind of put this in perspective. With all this bleeding, this still hasn't outdone that inverse head and shoulders pattern. Like when I look at this daily chart, you almost can't even tell that we've had a large pullback because we've been pulling back on Ethereum since December consistently. We're inside of a shorter time frame falling wedge or falling channel. We had a little bit of a breakout here, ended up being a false breakout, didn't sustain it, never got the high volume to confirm it. Now we are moving to the downside. So right off the bat, I'm going to sit here and say, hey, could Ethereum fall back towards 2,700? Hey, maybe back towards this blue line. What is this blue line? Yeah, long-term support level. Could it fall all the way back here towards 2,730 or 2,800, give or take? Yeah, these things could happen, and Ethereum stays in its longer-term bullish formation. Again, this is not the largest pullback. Let's just go, even if you don't include the last 2 days. Last 2 days on Ethereum, we're only talking about 14%. If you were to go back to December, that was a pullback of 28%. Were you guys not here with us when Ethereum in over a couple months here pulled back 46%? These pullbacks are not that bad. They're bad in the short term. If you were in a leverage trade, again, I was in a leverage onto a trade. Trust me, I got liquidated. I got obliterated on the trade. If you were trading these short-term markets, yeah, this was not a fun pullback. But if you're a longer-term investor and you understand that manipulation is here, you're still looking at this and saying this is extremely, extremely positive. And it could, again, bleed here a little bit more. Let's start to take a look here at some of the oscillators. You are seeing bubbles begin to form here on lower timeframes at the 4-hour chart, right? No buy signal there. Let's see if we get one like we went to the hourly chart. I'm not really going to want to go below the hourly chart. Yep, bubbles are forming. Excessive sellers. This move is being pushed heavily by excessive selling. Manipulation, ladies and gentlemen. It's not ready to pop yet, but there is a bubble forming here. So you start to take a look out here towards longer time frames like the daily. We're kind of chopping in here, getting ready for some sort of a larger move. Again, levels here on 2,700. Have a take profit level in that camp. But a lot of things are still sitting positive. If you go to the weekly chart, well, we had some shorter term bearish divergence that did call for a short correction. Still positive money flow over here. And when you look at this, guess where this smart trail starts to come in? Somewhere on 2,800, 2,700 is a target there for Ethereum on this pullback. So that's kind of what I'm watching right now as we start to pull, as things continue to pull back. I told you earlier in the show, I did not think that these dips were necessarily over. That I think that a lot of things had a little bit lower to go before they hit their next major level of support. For Ethereum, 28 to 2,700, probably going to be a very interesting spot to keep an eye on. 1,000% Tim on Trump policy. He puts Americans first. And again, I mean, people are going to agree or disagree. Here's the other thing, and I'll say this as, again, we'll go back to crypto. Whether you agree with Trump or not, or support Trump or not, everyone should be rooting for his success. Like, for example, I didn't vote for Joe Biden, didn't want Joe Biden, but I wasn't rooting for him to fail. Hopefully we get back to a place as a country where even we don't get the things we want, we still try to work together to create solutions. I think there's a lot of people out there right now, though, that are just like, they're wanting Trump to fail. They want the country to fail. I don't understand that really. But there's a lot of people like that right now. Let's see. We are all cooked. Will stacks ever recover? Asks Warrior. We talked about this the other day. I am not going to be a stacks bear. So I'm not going to be the type of person who says the bull market's over. We can't hit new all-time highs. This coin's cooked. You know, the words the cool kids are using these days. Lost a longer time frame support level. You can see here on the weekly chart, we had been rallying last couple of days. Last couple of weeks, excuse me. We lost that long-term support. This is one of the coins we talked about on the show the other day, that it did not have a good December. In fact, so the March high of stacks is significantly higher than the December high. That's not a great look for altcoins. If an altcoin does that, it's not a great look for it. So I sold my stacks, and I said this on the show Friday. I sold my stacks. I used to have a bag. I traded it out for, I think I picked up some, I think I used that to pick up a little more H-bar, and I can't remember if it was Ondo or Sui. I bought a little more with those things, but yeah, I'm not going to tell you that we can't see this type of a move and go higher. What I don't think you're going to see, though, is some astronomical move here on stacks. I don't think we're going to see like 10x. I don't think we're getting up here like to a 10x or anything. I think you're going to probably, I think if we can hit somewhere between $7 to $10, honestly, that would be a success from here on out. And one thing to kind of think about when you're looking at coins like this, and I know this coin as of late has actually performed decently, but Litecoin, this show's going way longer than I thought it was going to go, but we're having fun. A lot of people still watching. We'll keep talking. Litecoin did not have a great bull market in 2021. Still had a bull market, right? But you can see here, it didn't even break the highs of December of 2017. So for all intents and purposes, even though there was a bull market, and even though if you had bought, let's say after COVID, it kind of calmed down. Let's say you'd bought Litecoin here around October and you'd held to the top and you sold the top perfectly there in May, which again is another sign that it topped out in May, not November. That's not great. You still saw an 860% return, right? So that's still a 9x, almost a 10x, right? But everything else was doing like a 30, 40, 50, 100x from there on out. So Litecoin was a disappointing coin. Still at a bull market, didn't hit a new all-time high, but still at a bull market, but was a disappointing coin. I have a feeling coins like Stacks, coins like ICP, coins like even on the even like AVAX, like I think that I'm less bullish on them now than I was a couple months ago. Super chat here, big super chat from Florentin Montino. Sorry, I probably butchered that. Perfect time for this update, Tim. Bring Doge in this live stream. Do a chart analysis for us. Show you worried. What's your take on this? Let's look at Doge. Doge is one I was not worried on. I actually talked about it on Friday's thing a little bit. So those highs in May, we went way higher in December, right? So that's a good, healthy sign right there. I do think, now this isn't the right time to talk about it because I'm pretty sure this coin is getting obliterated. Yeah, it went way below even what I thought. I think if Trump coin does make a sort of a pullback, there's a chance that Trump coin could be a little bit of a threat to Doge. But at the moment, if I'm just looking at the chart for Doge, let's go back in here. Again, a false breakout here. We did break above a level of resistance, but couldn't sustain a higher volume breakout. In fact, the volume that came in was more of a confirmation bearish volume. So we're still trading within an ascending channel here. Very, very bullish long term. Probably going to see when we do get a breakout, a very quick move once we get a confirmed breakout here, a very quick move back up to these highs around 46 cents, but not a bearish chart whatsoever. Come on now. As we are double bottoming kind of right now with this wick back here, we're coming back to this support level. Let's take a look here at the Fibonacci level of this move. This is going to put you right in that 0.5 level, depending on which one you're looking at. If you're coming back to this dip in November, since November 5th, we're at the 0.5 level. If you want to go all the way back here, we're coming up to that 0.382 level. Either way, these are both significant Fibonacci levels that should have support. What I'm going to be watching for on Doge, and we're starting to see it, but I want to see, as we kind of get bottomed out here, just like we had back here, I want to see a pop-up of volume as the selling transfers into buying. And that's happening as we're getting to a pretty significant support level right here. Let's take a look at some. Yeah, there we go. 3 daily smart trail. Where's the weekly smart trail? Hitting the weekly smart trail. Okay. Had the weekly sell signal. We're hitting the weekly smart trail. So we're sitting on long time frame, strong support right now, even for Doge. And yeah, it's a good sign, a very good sign for this coin long term. It still has a lot of bullish structure to it. Cutest Girls said, I will not buy anything now until after Monday stock markets open. Not a bad thought there, Cutest Girl. Honestly, I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat where I'm going to kind of wait and watch. But again, I want to hypothesize. A lot of people expected the markets to be bad once these tariffs were live, and we're crashing right now. Is this the front run that is front running the crash there, and it's going to give the markets a silver platter to buy some great dips? Some of these coins, I think we're very close to our support levels. Other coins, I think we still have a little ways to go. I think Bitcoin, while we were talking here, did it touch 90? It went down below 97. How low did it actually get? Let's look at the candle here. Low was at 96,770. And we talked about 96.3, I think, was the level I was watching that could be very interesting. It's not going to be smart trails. It's going to be Fibonacci levels from right back here. Let's just see how this looks right here. Yeah, didn't quite touch it. So I think you have a little bit lower there with Bitcoin, probably a little lower with a lot of coins, but I won't be surprised. Not that I'm necessarily going to be buying bulks of it because I bought some dips even yesterday, But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see some coins hit some of these significant support levels we talked about today. And that's egregious. Let's not pretend it's gonna do that. I think you're a small bounce back up, and the markets will open, and they'll think like, okay, do we want to sell this back down there, or do we want to buy this up and start sending it to the upside? Let's wait to see how the week plays out. But let's pretend for a second. Let's imagine we're perceiving the future and Bitcoin is flying by the end of the week. That would not be crazy. And the reason it wouldn't be crazy is because the markets have a way of pumping on bad news, right? When the markets get involved, bad things are happening. Everyone's convinced things are bearish. They pump. And they have a way of sometimes when you have really, really good news, for some reason, crashing right after that happens. Why does that happen? Manipulation. And there's a lot of it in this bull market because of the institutional adoption. So again, I can't tell you with 100% certainty that we're going to have a rally this week. But if we do, it would not surprise me whatsoever. And that would be, if you need it, if some of you are not conspiracy theorists like me, I guess, in the crypto markets, if you don't think there's manipulation, that probably would be the confirming damning evidence that this was a manipulated move, that we crashed over the weekend because of the tariffs, and then they bought up the dip. It would literally be a story of they crashed the market, so they brought the boat back so they could jump in. You know, there's a sentence that when institutions miss the boat, they bring the boat back. When retail misses the boat, who cares? Retail doesn't get a vote. You know, this to me looks like a bring the boat back situation for institutions. Yeah, Robert says it's buy the rumor, sell the news. That's best rule of thumb ever. And guess what? Sometimes it's sell the rumor, buy the news. So in this one, the rumor is the market's going to sell off when the market opens. So the markets are selling right now. Again, I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen. I'm just saying it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. All right, guys. I think we're going to go ahead and get out of this. I don't know if IMJ is responding to me. Oh, I think he's coming as somebody else. It's like that was a weird sentence. I think we're going to get out of the show. I think we're going to wrap it up here. I kind of said my piece on how I think things are going right now. Gave you guys some great targets. If you want to watch it back, I didn't think I was going to go an hour. I thought this was going to be a 30-minute show, but you get talking, you get going into some of these things, and you know, it is what it is. If you enjoyed it, smash the like and hit subscribe. Some of you didn't, and I get that. Some of you guys don't like when I talk politics. Some of you guys don't like when I talk about my faith. You know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay if you don't like me because I'm an opinionated person. I think that's sad that people are like that, but I understand it. I understand sometimes you just want people to shut up and talk crypto. And you know what? We talk crypto 99% of the time on this channel. But I'm a human. I'm a person. I have opinions. I have thoughts. And you know what? If it costs me this channel, if it costs me money, if it costs me to speak truth about my Savior Jesus or about my opinions on how the world should work, go for it. If you want to take my channel, if you guys want to cancel me, if you don't want to watch me ever again, go for it. To me, my name and who I am as a person and who I conduct myself to my family and to you guys is 1,000 times more important than my takes about cryptocurrency. I love talking crypto, and I want to see my family and your families and everybody's families create generational wealth in the crypto space and change their lives forever. That is a big goal of mine. But I also care about your soul. I care about who you are as a person. I care about how this world goes for you. And for that, sometimes we got to talk politics and we got to talk a little religion. If you love it, smash the like, hit subscribe. If you don't, you're welcome back anytime. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow, 3 p.m. for our live show. With that said, see you then. Adios.